Welcome again to our YouTube channel, Father Danny Perspective. Father Danny Perspective. Our God is sufficient for all. Today we look at traits of unhealthy marriage. Yesterday we looked at traits of a healthy marriage, and earlier today I talked about Ash Wednesday. Why Ash Wednesday? So now we look at traits of unhealthy marriage. But before we look at those traits of unhealthy marriage, we have to accept that a Christian marriage must always never separate itself from God. That marriage can be strengthened and is always under the grace of God. So any marriage that is a Christian marriage must never separate from God, must develop and grow a strong relationship with God. So let us look at the traits of unhealthy marriage. The first one, according to Susan Lowland, she speaks of indifference. Indifference is a form of selfishness in a marriage. It's like the ultimate form of selfishness in a marriage. A marriage with indifference is not a Christian marriage, where one partner does not care what the other partner is doing. That I don't care what you are going through. I don't care what you are doing. I don't care what you are feeling. That indifference. You are a grown up. You know what you are doing. I don't care what you are doing. I don't care what's happening with your life. So long as we are still married, I don't mind whatever is going on. That form of relationship of indifference leads to a shaky marriage relationship. That's a trait of unhealthy marriage. Indifference, where the other partner doesn't care, or one partner does not care about the other partner. Whatever the other partner is doing, I don't care. You are okay. You does not concern me. That indifference is a trait of unhealthy marriage. Is a form of selfishness. The second trait of unhealthy marriage is indifference towards God. I know God exists. I know God is there. That there's no active relationship with God. This one is when God is not part of the marriage relationship that is established between a man and a woman in a Christian marriage. When one or both partners have no desire whatsoever or do not desire to have a relationship with God, that means God is absent from their marriage relationship. If that is the case, that means there will be no genuine love, there will be no genuine forgiveness offered to each other in a marriage relationship. There's no genuine love. It's like is a contract. You're just staying together because it's a social contract. There's no divine sense into your marriage relationship. That means this marriage is open to any culture. It's open to world values. It's open to the demands of the flesh that may be even against God's will. This marriage will be open to the ways of the devil, and the devil can do anything with it because the place is open, the relationship is open to the evil one. The absence of God in a Christian marriage is a trait of unhealthy relationship. Third, stagnation. Stagnation. That means you have reached a point where both of you in a married relationship, there's no more expression of love. The couple does not know how to express love for one another, or has stopped expressing love for one another, and therefore, in some sense, television has kicked in, has taken much of your time from your love relationship, is broken down. You are into your books, reading, work. There's a lot of silence between your relationship in marriage. Social activities take priority in your life. And this means there's no spiritual growth. Spiritual growth stops because you have no even conversations between yourselves. You are stagnant. There's no intimacy. Intimacy stops because you are stagnant. You don't know even how to express yourself. You become like roommates or like brother and sister in the same house. It's like you're just staying together, but you have nothing much in between you, brother and sister. You just share a common place, but you don't share any common life. No sense of looking forward to going back to your spouse at home if you are at work. When time comes for you to go back home, you feel depressed. You don't look forward to meeting your spouse. That tells you are at a point of stagnation. There's no growth. You are not enthusiastic to go back home after work because you don't know how to express love to each other. You are stagnant. Number 4, lack of communication. Yesterday we talked about communication, effective and constant communication. Now, a trait of unhealthy marriage, one of them is lack of communication. The couples have no ability, or they have stopped having conversation about things that matter to them, things of importance to their relationship. They never have a time to discuss about their hopes, their dreams, their faith, their feelings. Nothing intimate. They don't talk about anything. Cannot negotiate or argue over an issue without insults, without accusations, without nasty words, without putting each other down, or without bringing past failures and mistakes. Meaning, when you forgive, you don't forget. You just wait. When you're having an argument, when you're having some discussions, you bring those things back in an argument, in a discussion, in exchanging your thoughts. Lack of communications. There's no communication. You cannot negotiate. You cannot talk about anything. You cannot argue about anything. You cannot agree to disagree honorably and still love each other. Insults, putting others down, putting each other down, bringing past mistakes, nasty words, accusatory statements, and so forth. That's a sign of lack of communication, and it's a trait of unhealthy marriage. Number 5, isolation. Some marriages, they want to bond and be one with each other, but they exclude themselves from outside friends. That partners in a marriage are not allowed to have friends outside, and they term such kind of friendships as disloyal and infidelity, that you are not loyal to me. That outside marriage there's no friendship. It's only between us two. It is between us and the world. We are one, and we have to face the world as one, and therefore we cannot have a friend outside, that you cannot have a friend outside. If you're a husband, if you're a wife, you cannot have a friend outside. If you do, that becomes a sign of disloyalty. That is a sign or a trait of unhealthy marriage there. Unhealthy marriage. You are looking at it, you are living it. Unhealthy marriage. That's a trait of unhealthy marriage, whereby no partner is allowed to have a personal friend outside, a confidant outside. That you are all on yourselves. That is a trait of unhealthy marriage. You are isolating yourself from the world. That marriage is not healthy. There's something you are hiding. There's something that you are protecting by isolating yourselves from the rest of the world. And the moment that is known, that marriage may fail terribly. It's better you have such relationships outside, then you can deal with whatever might be a problem and keep your marriage. But isolation is a sign or a trait of unhealthy marriage. Number 6, control of finances by one spouse. Sometimes it's good to have a joint account. It's good. But also it's important also to have individual accounts whereby you are free to spend the money without being accountable too much, that you are not under control and you are asking for money or for pocket money, then that reduces you into a beggar. But you have to make arrangements on how you use your finances. But when it is over controlling of finances by one partner in marriage, it brings conflict. Especially when one partner feels like a child when asking for pocket money. Feels like a child when asking for money to buy maybe ice cream or to buy some personal effect. This partner in the relationship is reduced to become subservient to the one who controls the funds. But all marriages must have an understanding on how to spend their money, common account, and sometimes have finances separately for your own independent expenditure. That depends on one marriage to other. But if you find that finances are overly controlled by one partner in the marriage, is a trait of unhealthy relationship. You have to look at it and have a clear understanding as to why that is. Number 7, lack of intimacy. Yesterday we mentioned about intimacy, that there are many other ways of expressing your intimacy for one another and with one another. Of course, when a couple is no longer intimate, or partners are not intimate with each other in other ways, hugging, kissing, rubbing hands, walking, holding hands, those intimate actions, intimate acts, the moment they start ceasing, it may lead even to cessation of intimate sex relationship. You must find out ways through which you have to keep expressing your intimacy with each other. Because if you do not, eventually sex itself will disappear from your relationship, and therefore the marriage will be in shaky ground. Intimacy is very important in a marriage relationship. Lack of intimacy. Find ways of expressing your intimacy with one another. Intimate acts, not only sex. If these others are not existing, may lead to even sex itself stopping. Number 8, lack of forgiveness. Sometimes in marriage, when there are arguments in marriage or there's a mistake, it happens that there's no forgiveness. That when you argue with each other, when you commit mistakes, when you are wrong or when the other partner is wrong, it means when you are lacking forgiveness, there's no reconciliation. You have to remember that there's no discussion that can be had without a problem when there is lack of forgiveness. So every discussion, every conversation will come up with problems. And the other spouse brings up problems, brings up issues because there was never forgiveness in whatever mistake that was committed in the past. The past failures are brought forth. Accusatory statements are made. You always do this, you always do that, you always do that, you always speak to me like that, you always look at me like that, you always behave like that. Such kind of statements is a sign that there is lack of forgiveness. Because you have not forgotten what you forgave. That means you are still carrying that grudge against your spouse. Lack of forgiveness. That means in that marriage, apology is never enough. There's something extra, and that something extra has never been achieved. And that's something extra, you don't know what it is. And that's something extra that you are looking for is you are lacking forgiveness. Genuine forgiveness. You must be willing to forgive and to let go in order to allow growth in your marriage. You may tend to remember, but don't bring it up. It's a sign of genuine forgiveness. You may remember once in a while, but you don't need to bring it up because you forgave. And it is not part of the current problem. That was a mistake in the past and it should remain in the past. It's not part of the current problem. So you must stop saying you always do that, you always do that. Remember even 1970, what you did. It is like in every incident, in everything that happens, you keep that one as a future ammunition to shoot the other person, to shoot the other partner in marriage. Lack of forgiveness is a trait of unhealthy marriage. The other trait of unhealthy marriage, trait number 9, is mental or emotional problems. This can be brought about by very many ways. Addictions, substance abuse, things to do with gambling, pornography, sexual addictions. People have different addictions, either to alcohol, to others are workaholics, they work too much. Others are addicted to other things, even sexual addiction. Some are even perverse addictions in the marriage. Such are things that signify that there is a mental and emotional problem in that marriage relationship. If there's pornography involved, addictions involved, whatever sorts of addiction, gambling and all these things, being workaholic, and also recently the most dangerous addiction is addiction to sex. It wrecks marriages. There are different forms of addictions to sex, and it has wrecked marriages. When you see such, those are signs of mental and emotional problems, which are signs or traits of unhealthy marriage. Look into it. Find a professional to help. Don't just sit and see your marriage go down the drain. Seek help. Seek guidance, professional help, especially with addictions, with all these. Even being workaholic is an addiction. You are too much into your work. You forget you are a married person. You forget you are a husband. You forget you are a wife. You forget your responsibilities as a father, as a mother, because you are too addicted into these other things that takes you away from your marriage relationship. Number 10, the last one, is not being free. What do you mean by free? Not being free in a marriage. Remember, when you go for a marriage celebration or a wedding mass or something like that, sometimes you ask a question, are you here freely without reservation? Then the question is, what pushed you into that marriage relationship? What pushed you into it? If you went into it freely, without reservations, then you open up to learn and to know the other person, the other partner. So much so that you know when this person is committed, because you came into it freely without reservations. You are never pushed by anything into it. You are never propelled into getting married by something else, by something extra. You came freely without reservation, and therefore you are free in the marriage, and you have learned your partner. You have known your partner so well, so much so that you know when this person is committed for the marriage. Being free in your marriage. So look back and see what brought you into the marriage. Are you free in that marriage? Are you there freely without reservations? If you have some reservations and you are not free, then that's a sign or a trait of unhealthy marriage. Such are some of the traits that we shall talk about tonight, or we have talked about tonight. There will be very many more, but basically these are the major ones, major traits of unhealthy marriages. So check out and see, do you have any of these traits? And work at them, find help, solve the issues, and bring your marriage into a healthy marriage relationship. May God bless you, and as you begin this period of Lent, may you include your marriage as an intention of prayer, and in the process of fasting, ask for restoration and the grace of God upon your marriage. May God bless you. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. God bless you.